Hey everyone. For this video, I'm going to be covering an opinion piece for a columnist named Rick Bell, a contributor to the Calgary Sun. Let's start down. Well, the headline is Conservatives pick Scheer over Bernier, Harper Light over Mad Max. And that was ultimately the decision that the Conservatives, what it really came down to was, yes, be bold or be cowardly. And the Conservatives chose to go the cowardly route. I admit it. This is not the column I thought I'd be writing. The column I thought I'd be writing would be about a very different conservative leader. The column would be about Maxime Bernier. It would be the column where I would talk about the federal conservative choosing Bernier because they wanted to shake things up, wanted to be bold, wanted to break from the past and the many compromises of the Harper years, right? Right? About being bold, about being brave, about challenging their political opponents on the other side of the aisle. But, like I say, well, you got a lot of them that rely on big government progressives, right? To keep their incomes, so whether it's pension funds, right, or subsidies for the farmers, a lot of this cronyism, hey, they benefit tremendously from big government. So they're like, I don't want to be that bold. Fucking chicken shit cowards. Not only were they cowards, but they sold out their future their successive generations for who knows how long. They've placed, the burden on those of us that are trying to fight for individual liberty and personal responsibility, the Conservatives have just placed a much heavier burden on our shoulders. I hope the rest of you realizes that the Conservatives, they didn't just forsake you and they didn't just use you. They have now forced you to assume or accumulate more of the burden to try to carry this heavy burden for everybody. I don't respect anyone that tries to do that, especially when you look at how the demographics is playing out and who has the power, the influence, and the money to back them up. They're basically trying to force all this shit onto people that have, like people in Gen X and Gen Y for the most part. We've been basically left at the back of the bus for so long. We have nothing. We don't have the kind of wealth accumulated or built up like these fucking old social conservatives or there's progressives that use big government to benefit them throughout the entirety of their lives. How are we going to try to... We have the right ideas. We have courage. We have strength. We have conviction. But we don't have the big money backers. We don't have the establishment, long entrenched political processes that these fuckers have built up for decades, right? And the psychology and mentality, right? So they haven't just, like I say, they didn't just fuck us over to a slight degree by saying, we don't really care what you got to say. Well, hey, you can join our group, but they're basically saying, yeah, you libertarians, you can join our group if you want, but you still better get the fucking line and do what we tell you to do, right? That don't work very well for libertarians, let me tell you that. It would be the column where readers would be told, by picking Bernier, the Conservatives refused to just slap a new paint job on the old vehicle, right? Yeah, exactly. Or bring in a smiley Stephen Harper. Or, if you're really unkind, put lipstick on a pig. This would be the column where Conservatives opted for a candidate who pledged not to kowtow to special interests, even those in his own riding, right? Someone like Bernier that was willing to challenge all that shit, right? Amazing. I have so much respect for that man for doing so. Who actually knew tax cuts for all Canadians is conservative while doling out tax breaks to certain privileged groups in the hopes of picking up their votes is not, right? Buying votes, yeah. Conservatives chose to buy votes rather than being principled. They chose the short run game, right? I thought conservatives were all about the long run game, right? Forgoing, shit in the here and now for long-term benefits in the future, right? Forgoing immediate gratifications for the potential and the prospects for long-term gains, right? That's kind of what conservatives were all about, but not anymore. Not with big government. They love their big government just as much as those on the left side of the political aisle. So you better recognize that soon, Canadians. You need to recognize that actually now. Because these fuckers are, like I say, they seem more than willing to, as you see, they seem more than willing to sell you younger folks up the river just to keep the status quo going. They're not bold, they're not brave, they're not courageous. And don't look to them, if they're pretending as such, well, point out to them today that, oh, you don't look so bold today, dad, grandpa, grandma, mom, right? Aunt, uncle, whoever the fuck it is. your employer, whatever, whoever it is that chose to like maintain the status quo. Well, you can speak out one side of your mouth, but the minute you start talking about bold and being conservative, I'm going to call you out every time. Well, what are you conservative about? Huh? Conserving big government? That's about the only thing I see you're conserving. Yes, it would be a column where kissing the butt of certain farmers while Canadian families continue to have to pay a lot more for milk and eggs and poultry would not be the winning ticket. I've covered that in past videos too, right? The column would talk of the Conservatives choosing someone at ease, explaining the shrinking of the CBC and the privatizing of Canada Post and the scrapping of the meddlesome CRTC. Yeah, exactly, right? Especially with the telecoms, right? Bernier, all you, especially you young people, I mean, holy fuck, Bernier would be like, bring in the competition. So all your phone bills, you'd have more infrastructure built in this country. Like I say, holy fuck, the old Conservatives really fucked you guys up. Like I say, it's terrible. And hold them to account, Canada. Hold them to account. Smaller government for real. Lower taxes for all. More individual freedoms and cuts in bureaucratic fiat, even if the protesters squeal. That's what Bernier was all about. Love it. Standing on principle. Standing on a platform of principle instead of selling votes, right? That's really what we're talking about. Even the reworking of equalization and the way that Mammoth scheme discourages provinces from helping themselves while screwing Alberta, right? My perfect example of my province in New Brunswick. That fucking place, and I wish, because I have grandparents back there that I would love to be around there now to be able to help and take care of them in their older years, because they're probably not going to be here for this on this earth for much longer. But I can't, because they've destroyed the economic fucking prosperity that to the point where, like I say, it's all government workers and their fucking parents that live there now. Right? So, yeah, completely destroying. And I mean, what that does to the psychology of future generations, right? I mean, the long-term effects are so fucking devastating. But these people, they're showing Conservatives don't have that long-term thinking anymore. Right? So the pretense of them even being fucking conservative in the actual real defined meaning of the term of that word, they're not even really conservatives. You basically now, whether it's those that are voting for the social conservative Scheer or Trudeau Liberals or now the NDP, they're all a bunch of collectivist motherfuckers, bunch of fucking goddamn socialists and communists. They're collectivists that are willing to sacrifice future generations for their benefits in the here and now. That's what they are. That's who they are. That's what they represent. In such a column, it would now not be enough to just be better than the Liberals. It would be quite the novel to be conservatives without apology, right? I mean, if you're going to be conservatives, fucking do it. Like, this is the problem, right? They're unwilling to even stand on their own principled platform. Yes, this would be a day where enough conservatives would look inside themselves and find their guts. It was not to be. In the end, the Conservatives by a slim majority selected Andrew Scheer, a seemingly likable fellow, a positive soul who is said to neither provoke nor offend, right? Yeah, he's going to fucking inspire a whole lot of people right into the fucking conservative tent. Conservatives already have a hard time to try to challenge liberals and progressives because they're so fucking considered the most uncool, most fucking idiotic, authoritarian fucking morons, right? So, yeah, good luck with that one and maintain the status quo. Yeah, good luck trying to bring on Gen Xers and millennials into the fucking fold of your big fucking tent, right? You're going to find out that your tent ain't very big after all. It's just a bunch of you social conservatives sitting around circle jerking as far as I'm concerned. I hope one day to speak with them. An opportunity never granted by Harper. Yeah, Harper wouldn't let anyone fucking challenge his fucking bullshit or his narrative because, like I say, if you have bad ideas, you're scared to have people challenge them. Or if you're cowardly, you're scared people challenge your position. Think about that as someone like myself or Maxime Bernier. Would any of us be scared? Fucking put us on the stage, any kind of media outlet or any reporter or any of these political propagandists or the collectivists or the progressives or the libtards or the end-dippers. Think about how we would answer questions or how we would challenge their fucking narrative, right? Harper's all about, let's just keep fucking... Fucking loser, chicken shit, coward. Like I say, old fucking people. And while Andrew Scheer might not be old, but physically he might not be old, but psychologically in his brain, he's still one of these old social conservatives. So, whatever. If it means anything, conservatives in Calgary wanted Bernier. Boy, did they want him. Well, because conservatives in Calgary, predominantly, especially these young working class people that are the hard working people that are producing everything in that fucking province, that's maintaining and propping up pretty much a large portion of the rest of Canada. Of course they want to. Yeah, I'm tired of carrying the fucking load is what they were saying. But the old progressives, the SOCON, said, not only do I want you to carry it, I want you to take on even more of the burden, even more of the weight. Fucking assholes. Like I say, damn, they sold you out hardcore, libertarians. They sold you out hardcore. And you will now, that party, well, I'm telling you, even myself, that party, you might as well, for the foreseeable future, you might as well forget about the Conservative Party of Canada now. Because with Scheer at the helm, yeah, he's not going to inspire anything or anybody. I'd rather sit and watch paint dry on the wall than listen to the fucking goddamn way this fucking guy rambles on. Fuck that shit. But anyways, I won't have to read any more of this, but yeah, think about it. Just listen to already what's been said in this article. Excellent article. Thank goodness for this guy. Let me get back up and mention his name again, because I always have to give props and mad respect to those who are willing to put forth messaging and narratives in any kind of outlet where people can to learn a little bit of truth or a different narrative than they're being told by these collectivists, these progressive, these SOCONs, these ones that want to maintain the establishment and the status quo in Canada. Glad there are people that are willing to step outside that bounds, willing to challenge the predominant narrative of the collectivists, of the central planning, of the control freaks in this country, and at least give the rest of Canadians something to be hopeful for, something to strive for, something to be ambitious about. I try to do that all the time on a daily basis. And I'm telling you, I'm not looking to be your leader. I don't know what it would take for me to ever delve into politics. Man, I don't even know. I haven't even run that through my mind enough to figure out what it would take for me to ever want to dive into that, because I see how I'm not a fan of shooting myself in the fucking foot either. So that's why I do what I do. That's why I now fucking basically stay the fuck away from the political process and try to help people. Just listen, just like if you're raising kids. Well, you could use it by using the authoritarian method, controlling them, which is the political process, or you can lead by example, or you can be consistent with your messaging, or you can, tell them the right things, use proper philosophy, right? Predominantly, really what it comes down to is the first thing I said is lead by example. If you want to help Canadians out, especially successive generations, these younger generations, especially these millennials that don't know which way to turn. Are they going to turn to socialism, or are they going to turn to personal responsibility and individual freedom? Well, that relies on, and that's going to be dependent on who has the best message, who has the best narrative, and who has the largest platform to put forth. Because even if you have the best message and the best narrative, if you don't have a way to get your voice out there, well, how good is your message if nobody hears it, right? It's absent. So the most important thing we can do is to help each other, is to spread and disseminate this kind of truth, this objective reason, this logic, the philosophy and the principles of liberty. That's the best thing we can do, because like I said, it doesn't matter if your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, your employer, your family members, doesn't matter where they self-identify right now on the political spectrum. Talk to them about what libertarian values and principles are all about. Tell them how it's all about being personally responsible, all about fiscal responsibility and social acceptance of other people. Tell them it's all about freedom of the individual, which is the greatest minority on the planet, which is the smallest minority on the planet. So if they're all about respecting and promoting the minority or respect of the individual or groups, then the best thing they can do would accept and embrace libertarian philosophy, principles, and values. The live and let live mentality, that is the future of the world, folks. Social conservatism, no. Progressivism, collectivism, no. Individual liberty and personal responsibility and justice on an equal playing field for all. That's what the future should entail, and that's what we're trying to bring about. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.